So today or this week, you're going to be working on your images for your final portfolio slideshow. So I'm going to talk about the requirements and how to actually get your files ready for video. Okay, so this is part of your final project. And so this week, you're going to be re-editing 10 images that you want to use for your portfolio slideshow. Now, when I say re-editing, I don't mean starting from scratch. I mean, I want you to take a hard look at your images, at your work files, and figure out what you can do to make them better. Think about the feedback that you've gotten in critiques and apply that. Really look at them and think, like I said, what can you do to make them better? Okay, so for this portfolio, the images you can use really depends on which option you want to go with. So you do have two options. Now, the easiest is going to be showcasing your work over the semester. This is the easiest because you've already been working on these files. And so you really just need to do some slight edits and then resize and such in order to get them ready for video. Now, I do have another option. You can create a portfolio specific to your specialty. Now, this is going to be a lot more work because you might not have files ready to go for this yet, and you might have to start from scratch on your 10 files. But I'm doing this for any upper level students who know what genre of photography that you want to go into professionally. I want you guys to come away from this class with something that you can use to help yourself get a job, get clients, whatever. So if that applies to you, then this section is something that you want to listen up for. So for example, if you are, dead set that you're going to go into portraiture or commercial photography, fine art photography, whatever it is, you will still be doing all of the rest of this portfolio work, but you'll have to be working on some fresh files. Now, if you pick this option, you will still need to do extensive Photoshop work. If you pick this option, I'm going to need you, we'll have to talk about it. You'll have to get prior approval, but you'll have to upload screenshots of all of the files that you're going to be using, because this can't just be something simple. Like, you can't just go in and change the white balance and exposure, or do batch processing or anything like that. You have to do some extensive Photoshop work because this is an advanced Photoshop class. So yeah, if you do this option and you don't show me that you've done extensive Photoshop work, you will not like your grade, trust me. So this is, like I said, this is not an option to be lazy, like you don't want to do as much work. This is actually going to be an option that's more work. And if you choose this option, you must get prior approval from me. Okay, talk to me during lab time, come to my office hours, email me, whatever it is, but you must get prior approval. And when you talk to me, I'm going to expect that you tell me what specific Photoshop skills and techniques you will be applying, because I want to make sure that you're doing enough Photoshop work to be worthy of this final portfolio grade. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about the required files. So over the course of the semester, you've completed 13 major projects. You can pick 10 for your slideshow. Now, this does not include your title or ending slides, because you're going to have 12 overall files that you're going to be using for this. So this week, this is where you're going to be editing your files to make them better. Now that you had some more practice in Photoshop, I really want to see your skills come through. Now, for your title slide, it must have your name and Photoshop portfolio. Now, if you're doing option 2, where you're doing something in a specific genre, you can use that genre instead of putting Photoshop portfolio. Now, you worked on a title slide earlier in the semester. Now, if you decided you don't want to use that specific text effect, that's fine. You can make a new one, but it does need to, it can't just be text on a blank background. Okay, I do need to see that you've taken some time to create a text effect. If you're not sure, send me the tutorial you're thinking of doing, or send me the work that you've done, and I'll let you know if it's enough or not. Okay, And remember that this is going to be the first thing that will be seen. So even if you're going to be using the work you've done this semester, this is great practice to start thinking about marketing yourself as a photographer, or some people in here might be designers, but marketing yourself professionally. So think that, ask yourself, if I saw this title slide, would I keep watching or would I just scroll on by? It's a good way to just kind of self-assess and figure out if you're really branding yourself how you want to brand yourself. Okay, so for your ending slide, it should be in the same style as your title slide. So, if you use a text effect, maybe you'll have part of that in the text effect, at least the same background, okay, and the same fonts you use for the text effect. But it does have to have some information. It is necessary to have work by and your name, and then giving music credit. So music by and your name. Okay, and then optional, you can also add your website and or your social media handles. That's great for marketing and branding. Okay, so again, you're going to have 12 slides total. You're going to have a title slide, your 10 projects, and then your ending slide. You also need to pick music. So in the next lecture, I'm actually going to talk about this. Don't worry about the specifics about that quite yet. I'm going to show you a site where you can use some free music. But choose something that goes well with your style. Usually upbeat works pretty well, but there might be some styles where a somber song works better, okay? But ultimately, it's really going to be something that whatever works for your style of images that you're using. Okay, so let's talk about resizing for video. So once you've edited your file, you're happy with it, it's time to resize them. So you're going to, let me show you real quick. Okay, so for example, this was my original image I had done for the retouching week. So I went back in and worked on it some more. I didn't do crazy edits, but what I did do was I decided that this stuff on the background, on the wall, that some of it wasn't really working for me. It was distracting. I do like some of what's going on, but all of those extra things were, I just felt like they weren't helping. They were distracting from my main subject. So I took those out. Something else that I felt was distracting was this little inside of the hat here. So I went ahead and fixed that too. I think I used some Liquify and maybe some free transforming to kind of fit the hat back around her head. Okay, so like I said, I'm looking to make my images better. So now that I've got that done, I need to go ahead and resize for video. So this is my working file. So here we have, my working file. And now I need to go ahead and go to File, Save As. So let's go to File, Save As. And I'm going to rename this by, actually, this was wrong. Bad student Emily. Retouching. This is retouching. Okay. And so I've got it renamed as my last name, my first name, the project name, and then I'm going to go ahead and put in slideshow here. We want to know exactly what this is sized for and such. Okay, so let me go ahead and, before I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. So let's just make a new folder here. So I've got my Photo 23 folder. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this slideshow. Put final slideshow. Photo 23 final slideshow. And this is just to keep us nice and organized. This is going to come in handy later on. So let's hit create. And inside of this, I'm actually going to make another folder that says PSDs. Because this is, right now I'm making a PSD. I'm going to make another folder in a minute for the JPEGs. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's hit create. Okay, awesome, and let's go ahead and hit save. All right, so some things that are important to know about video is we need to have a very specific color space and resolution. So if you remember from our color space lectures, when we're looking at screens, the color space that's used is the smallest one, that's sRGB. So we need to go ahead and change that over. I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to go to Convert to Profile. Right now it's an Adobe RGB 1998. I'm going to go ahead and switch it to, where did it go? There it is, sRGB. It has this long number thing after. Don't worry about that. Just remember the little S, big RGB. Hit OK. And when we do this, if you remember from printing, it's going to flatten all your layers. So that's another reason why we need to go ahead and save this as another file. We don't want to resave over our working file in case we need to go back and change something. Okay, so now that I have it in the correct color space, now we need to go ahead and change the dimensions. So let's go to Image, Image Size. All right, and we're going to change the, what do you call it? We're going to change from inches over here to pixels. And so right now this image is 6,000 by 4,000 pixels. So for this video, we're going to be making it in 1080p. 1080p means that the pixels is 1920, 1920 pixels wide by 1080 pixels tall. So I'm going to go ahead and let's put in 1920 here. I'm going to put in 1920 for my width, and you can see for the height, it's a little bit bigger than 1080. That's okay. I can, once I get this into creating my video file, I can resize them using Command T, using transform. I can also, if I wanted to, add some movement. I could have it moving up, moving down, moving to the side. So maybe I want a little bit of extra resolution. That's going to be fine. As long as we get some of this resolution down, because before you can see right up here, it was a 137 megabyte file. Eek. Now it's down to, right now, 14 megabytes. It's going to get even smaller once we get into a JPEG. So this is important because we don't want to create huge video files, and the size of a video file, depends also on the files you're putting into it. So if we're putting in huge PSDs, it's going to be a huge video file. We don't need all that resolution for video. There's no need to clog up our computers and such with all that extra information. So this is going to work out fine. Now for the resolution, I don't have to worry about this. As long as I have my 1920 by 1280, this is, we're talking about screens using pixels as the measurement. That's going to be fine. Now, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So let's go ahead and hit OK. All right, and so now you can see that this is smaller. And let's go ahead and move it over, but it's still looking great. Okay, so now I can go ahead and save my JPEG. I'm going to go to File and Save a Copy. Alrighty, and now this is where I'm going to go back. And here's my final slideshow folder, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it JPEGs Create. Because later on when we go to make our Photoshop file, we can just go to this JPEG file, select everything, and we're good to go. And you know what you can even do to make it even faster? Watch this. Let's add, so I'm going to have a title screen, which is going to be 01, my first title. Now let's say that I know for sure that I want this to be the next one after that. I'm just going to go ahead and name this 02. And so then when I work on my title slide, I can go ahead and name that 01, and they'll all start being in order. Now why did I go 0 and 2 instead of just 2? Because I'm going to have more than 10 slides. If I just did it as 2, then the 10 would end up, I don't know, it's weird file stuff. It would end up being all weird. So I always add the zeros first. Okay, so let's go ahead and change the format. We need to go to JPEG, and yes, embed the color profile. Perfect. Let's go ahead and hit save. I'm going to go ahead and leave the quality at 12. We want it best quality as possible, and let's click OK. All right, so now you just rinse and repeat. Do this for all of your files until you've got all 12 of your files ready to roll. And now I do So what you need to do is work on your images for your slideshow. Then you need to resize your images for video, which is what I just showed you. Optional, if you want to get a head start on putting the slideshow together, you can go ahead and go to next week's lab assignment page where I talk about what you need to do for that.